Hello, everybody, and we are live tonight with SD Radio episode 15. Tonight, we will be previewing the UFC 197 pod pay-per-view for Saturday night. We have myself, BD Intric, KC Bubba, and we are joined by @PositiveVig Doc. Doc, how you doing tonight?
Excellent, man. How you doing?
Not too bad, not too bad. Real quick, before we get this party started, I'd like to do a quick advertisement for one of our newest affiliates, rotoderby.com. Roto Derby is back. Hey, season-long daily New York DFS players, if you love fantasy baseball or don't have time to manage rosters all season long, then Roto Derby is for you. Try their new home run fantasy derbies, offering large prize pools, monthly payouts, and fixed rosters all season. First place pays up to 7 times your money for a one-time fee as little as $19 to $99. At rotoderby.com, you just sit back, have fun, and win more cash. Register for their month-long $2,000 home run derbies before April 30th. For a small fee, you can win a lot of money at rotoderby.com. On our site, we have a referral link where you can save up to 10% on your first deposit, or just use the referral code KC Bubba, capital K, capital C, capital B, UBBA, and save 10% on your first deposit. With that being said, Doc, let's get right into the meat and potatoes. The most recent UFC news is one crazy Irishman, Conor McGregor. Oh my goodness, this whole UFC 200 out, in, out, in. What do you make of the situation, Doc?
Well, I've been following this, and I heard Dana on Colin Cowherd's show yesterday, and I heard what he had to say. Um, you know, I think Conor's a little bit of a media whore myself, and now he's saying that he doesn't want to do all the legwork, all the appearances, and all the radio spots and stuff like that, and every media appearance, press conferences, what have you. And he says maybe that's the reason why he wasn't ready. He got beat against Nate Diaz. Well, yeah, that may be part of the reason, but I think another part of the reason is that Nate Diaz was just in a different class than him. Um, when you when you step into the octagon with a Diaz, you're going to be in for a war, and he hit Nate with his best punch, and Nate didn't go down like most of the featherweights have. So he just got beat pretty much. And the way I see it, I think I don't even know why he's even doing this fight for UFC 200. I think he's his best fit is going back to the featherweight division, fighting Frankie Edgar, which I think would be a fantastic fight. But as far as his Facebook post that he put, I kind of side with him a little bit about all the appearances and stuff. And while he says I did all the legwork and I made the UFC millions, well, UFC made you a millionaire, pal. So you're the one who signed the contract, and you knew what you were in for. So, um, you know, it's just I kind of, but I kind of side with him though, as the fact that he wants to prepare, he wants to train, he wants revenge. I don't think he's still gonna. Even if he fights, I still don't think he's not gonna get it. Um, but now Dana said in Colin Cowherd that he's out of UFC 200. Period. And if he lets him back in, then it'll be interesting to see what the other UFC fighters say about that, because that's happened before, and Dana's kind of stuck to his guns. So if he gives Conor special treatment, then that's going to cause a lot of disruption on within the UFC, other fighters, special treatment, whatnot. So we'll see what happens, man. I honestly, I don't even know why he's fighting the fight. So I think it's kind of like whatever. So, if it happens, it happens. I'll still watch it, but I'd love to see Conor get knocked out again or tap out or whatever.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Like you said, I don't even know why he was fighting this fight more than just an ego play on his part, because he got dominated in that fight. And there's no other reason. He was dominating a featherweight division where, yes, you are right, he should be going back and defending his title. And that's why it was great when Conor, blew up Twitter on Tuesday tweeting that he's retired at a young age and blah, blah, blah. And then Dana comes out with his comments on the herd, and here's a couple of the quotes he had on Wednesday on the herd. He said Conor didn't want to promote the tour. No one is exempt from promoting their fights. The relationship isn't damaged, but Conor was making a lot of money for this fight, but now his fight isn't for 3 months. He said it wasn't a money issue. It never got combative with Conor because he was just talking to his manager. All these things. Dana said the right things. Colin tried to get him to, give the clickbait 101. But it's really, really interesting for a guy that talks about how much money he makes and he's done this and done that. And he's made his money by promoting, by flashing his gums. It's what he does. Like you said, he's a media whore. It's what he does. So yeah. the fact that he didn't want to promote is strange. But like you said, I understand that he's training in Iceland. He's a competitive person like most fighters and most people are. So he knows he got his ass kicked in his last fight. He wants to train hard and put that extra time in for the fight. You can't fault him for that. They're gonna have him fly in from Iceland to do a tour in Vegas, Stockton, and New York. He's basically gonna spend probably 2 weeks promoting a fight, so he wouldn't be in his camp anymore. It's 2 weeks of training for an opponent the right way, the way he needs to train. So you got to see that angle. Right. I get that, but at the same time, the reports are coming out that he was set to make around $10 million for this rematch, and Dana White is using almost $400 million in promotions alone for UFC 200, and that includes the media tour and all that stuff. There's a press conference tomorrow in Vegas with all the other fighters from UFC 200. That was the first one at the moment. Conor and Nate are not on the scheduled list of fighters appearing. So like you said, if Dana goes back on his word, it is a big thing because he's done this to other fighters. But about an hour ago or so, Conor hit the Twitter world again with a picture of him in the streets basically saying, I've got paid, I've done my part, and he does hashtag your move. So he puts the ball back in Dana's court, and it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. I have a feeling Dana's going to hold his guns to make it look like he's proven a point, and Conor will be headlining the New York City show. That's where I see this going.
That wouldn't shock me.
Speaking of New York City, UFC is finally going to be in New York. Just briefly, we could talk about it, whatever. You got your Weidmans, your Edgars, the works. Who do you think should be the guys headlining the first fight at Madison Square Garden?
I think Jon Jones. He's the best fighter out of New York, the state of New York, I think. Maybe Chris Weidman. We'll see how he's doing after the beating that he gets from Luke Rockhold in a couple months. That's going to happen. Yep. Al Iaquinta, I'd like to see him on the card. I like him. I like seeing him fight. Maybe Dennis Bermudez. He's another New Yorker. Not Rashad Evans.
No. We'll get to that, but no.
No.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think John would be a great one. We'll get to it later, but I honestly don't see how he's not going to win this weekend, and that just gives the perfect rematch against Cormier. And Cormier had his chance at a neutral site. Essentially, he got hurt. Jones did his part. Tough shit, Daniel. Now you got to go into his stomping ground. It's just the way it's worked, and that's how the UFC is going to make money with fights like that.
Hey, you know what? The way I see it, Cormier never beat Jones, so it should be in Jones's hometown.
Yeah, the way I see it, and we'll get to this coming up too, is sure Jones is a complete screw up. He did most of the problems that have occurred. He's done to himself, if not all the problems. Right. This is his own doing. But when you get down to just the fight game, he might still be the best in the game. And no one beat him. No one beat him. No one took the title from him in a fight in an octagon. The way I look at it, he is rightful to say he still is the champ because, they always say you got to beat the champ to beat the champ, and they never beat the champ. So the other fight I'd like to see in New York, I think it'd be really cool, especially with this whole Conor thing going on, is Dana said if Conor is retired, which Conor swears he isn't, that the Edgar Aldo fight on 200 is for the title. So I think if Frankie gets by Aldo, and that's a big if, because that's going to be a good fight. I like Frankie personally, but that's a big if. An Edgar McGregor title fight, co-headlining with Jones Cormier at Madison Square Garden would make a phenomenal first card in New York. That would be a phenomenal first card. That's just my 2 cents on the matter.
It's about time. It's about time, you know. Jeez, I don't know what the hell took them so long, but that's New York for you. So
when you have dumb politicians at the New York hearing trying to say that they're comparing MMA fighting to gay sex, you know that there's people that are, there's just people so uneducated about the situation, and it's just a shame that there's people out there like that. It's unbelievable.
Idiots.
But here's another fight that you might see in New York, and this is the next bullet point we have here, is Dana did come out recently, and it's controversial to an extent, and did say that Ronda Rousey's next fight will be for the title. That essentially, if she's ready coming up, the winner of the Miesha Tate fight coming up will get Rousey, and Holly Holm takes a back seat to that. That's another one that Dana could be using to put in Madison Square Garden. What's your opinion on Rousey getting an automatic title shot like that?
I thought about it for a while. I don't know, man. You gotta kind of like think about where she's at mentally. Is she like mentally ready? I mean, she took that loss pretty hard. It's going on Ellen crying.
Sorry, side note real quick. Jake Arrieta just threw a no-hitter. Continue.
Congrats.
Sorry, I had to bring that in there. It's impressive, but continue.
That is. No, I think she deserves it, man. I think the last fight against Holly Holm was just really prepared, coming out of the Jackson camp, like we've talked about. And she just kind of made Rousey look foolish, and I mean, call me crazy, but I think Miesha Tate, the third time's going to be a charm for Miesha if she ends up fighting Ronda. I think Miesha Tate's got the whole package, man. I mean, she's improved her striking game. She had a lot of heart, man. The way she beat Holm, that was just tons of heart, and she won it like she looked like her true champion came out in there, and I loved that card. I thought that was an excellent card, and she deserves it. But I mean, I don't know. Maybe she wasn't well prepared in the Holly Holm fight because of all her extracurricular activities, and maybe it gave her a little bit of a reality check. I don't know. I still kind of think she's a one-trick pony. I don't think she's that great of a striker. I mean, it's all about getting her to the ground, throwing, using her judo and armbar or whatever. But I think she's kind of a one-dimensional fighter myself. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, who knows? We'll see what happens. But I think she deserves it, man. She was a champ for a long time. She ran through most of the division unscathed until she ran into Holly. So I think it's only fair. But Dana's got to think about where she's at mentally, man, because last time I checked, she was a train wreck. So we'll see.
That's the biggest part you just said right there, and I was going to mention that is sure, she definitely deserves a rematch. She was the best of the best, and she got caught up in a fight, and like you said, it could have been all the movies she was doing. She wasn't taking it seriously. Because before that fight, Holm was undefeated, but she never looked that dominant. That was Holm's most dominating fight in
totally. Yeah.
So for all you could say is Rousey might have been looking at old footage going, oh, shit, I can get inside, take her down, at what I've done to everybody else in the division. But that is the biggest thing is her mental game, because you see her going on TV like you're talking about. She probably looks like a 40 pounds over fight weight. She just – everything about what's going on just doesn't look right. It'll be interesting. Yeah, she does deserve it. And again, she'll be supposedly ready around the New York time, and there's another one that's going to sell a card. Is a Rousey comeback for a title. It's just it's the reality of the situation, and what better way to try to sell a card in boxing's mecca of Madison Square Garden with some big time
That
title fights.
that whatever it is, man, that first pay-per-view in New York is it's going to be bigger, the biggest pay-per-view in the history, period.
Yeah, like we're talking 197 tonight, and the cards coming up are impressive. 199, they just added 2 more fights today, is just ridiculous. And then
Yeah, that's a
200,
great card.
and then 200 is locked and loaded, and we'll get to those when those times come. But 200 is just like from top to bottom are fights you can see on main cards all over the place. And
Yeah,
you're right. You're right. I could see that first MSG card making 200 look like 195 or something. It just won't even be close.
totally,
But
totally.
we'll skip over this Jon Jones stuff because I figure we'll probably hit that when we talk about his fight. Recently, there was a pretty good fight card down in Florida. It would have been really good if, Machida didn't admit to taking PEDs and Dan Anderson got to go for a good fight. But now Hendo's on 199 on a good fight there. And we also lost Tony Ferguson. I was really, really looking forward to Ferguson versus Khabib. That was going to be an awesome fight. That was going to be awesome. Ferguson,
Yeah,
El
I like
Cacuy,
seeing him fight.
something special. But one thing we did see, one of the couple things I want to hit on, is Sugar Rashad Evans just got knocked the fuck out by Glover Teixeira in dominating fashion. And I know there's a lot of Rashad fans, and yes, he's done great things for the sport. There's no doubt about that. But when I watched him get knocked out, and literally the first thing he says is what happened, it reminded me of Chucky old days, and that's when you that's when you got to kind of sit back. And Rashad's got a future as a UFC as a businessman. He needs to look at the rest of reality and go, this might be time to call it a day. What's your thoughts on Rashad?
Just isn't fast anymore. Showing his age. I thought the fight he fought against Bader was maybe ring rust, but that wasn't the case, man. He's just not the same. My opinion, stick in the Fox studio. He's a great analyst, along with Stan and them, Brian Stan. Yeah, just stick in the studio, man. Just hang it up. He's had a great career. He has done a lot for the sport. He was a big part of the sport growing. So yeah, I think it's time. I mean, I like seeing him fight, man. I really did, and I thought that after the Jones loss, I think that was kind of it for him. I didn't think he was going to challenge for the title or anything like that. So yeah, it's kind of it's time. It's time.
Yep, I
He
agree.
got, man. That was a pretty brutal knockout, man. And sometimes you're like the MMA fans like you and I were kind of like, oh wow, it's a great knockout. Wow, holy crap, knocked the shit out of it. But then you kind of like see it in slow mo, and then you see the after the fact, and you kind of like scratch your head. You feel bad for the guy, like, man, you can't be getting hit like that too many times. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
I think it's just best to stick in the studio.
yeah, no, that's kind of how I felt. Like as the MMA fan, I was like, oh wow, that was awesome. Like it was quick and dominating. And like I said, the second later you hear him go, what happened? And it all sinks in like, oh boy, like that's not good. It's not good.
It sucks, man.
Yeah, because like
it really does. It sucks to see.
Like you said, he's been around forever, but he would be great in the studio. Like you said, Stan is amazing. Rashad brings something extra. Not a problem at all. Another fight that was on that card somehow was on the prelims was one Mr. Jon Dodson going in and absolutely destroying Mr. Gambirian in like 9 seconds. He went full spider monkey on him. Killed him. And the part I want, I'm not as surprised that Dodson won. Guy's been a freak. The only guy that's really been able to stop him for the most part's been Mighty Mouse. But the part that I want to talk about is he called out TJ Dillashaw for a rematch, and I think that'd be one hell of a fight.
Absolutely.
If they made that fight, who do you have?
Oh man, tough. I'd have to, honestly, man. Seeing the way that Dillashaw looked in his fight against Cruz, Cruz is really hard to hit, and I just think that Dodson's a little too quick for him. Dodson's got some power, man. The guy's a beast. He's a little dude, but he's a beast, man. And he's got some quickness, man. He's just super quick. And if he's, I know he'd be, going up in weight a little bit, but I don't think it would affect his speed that much. I think he would give Dillashaw some major trouble. I really do. But we'll see what happens, man. I mean, Dillashaw, I think, wants Cruz again. Cruz is fighting Faber again, which is ridiculous. Stupid. Yeah, Cruz is going to dominate. Come on, man. Faber's another guy that he's kind of like the Ken Flo of. He's like a Ken Flo, man. He just chokes in the big fights, man. I mean, he just can't bring it home. He's kind of past his prime too. I don't know why he's even fighting. So
yeah, Faber's like one of those 4A baseball players. Just gets you excited, and then when he gets to the show, he can't get it done.
Right.
He's the ultimate Stephen Bonner.
That's classic. That's classic Ken Flo, man.
Yeah,
Ken Flo got to a title fight and just shit the bed.
He's classic Ken Flo, Stephen Bonner material. Now I'm going to be a gatekeeper, but some of these guys just don't know when to call it quits. It's weird, but that's just the nature. If anybody's played sports, it's the nature of the beast. You just want to compete.
Yeah.
Well, with that being said, let's get down to the UFC 197 main card preview. We looked at the undercard, and in all reality, thank God it's free because there's really not much to it except you get to see Anthony Pettis' little brother, decent women's fight with Juliana Lima. Other than that, not much to get overly excited about. You have Efren Escudero to see if he ever makes weight and makes a fight, but that's about it. So let's get into the main card here, and the first fight of the night. I'm going to butcher this. I'm going to butcher a lot of names like I always do, but we're going to start with Yair El Pantera Rodriguez fighting Andre Touchy Fili, and Fili is his last name. Wow. Rodriguez, at the time I was looking, is a -150 favorite.
That's the worst. That's the worst nickname ever.
I just now saw that as his nickname, and I just want to pick against him just for that alone. That is like no wonder this guy's a fighter. He probably got his ass kicked his whole life with a nickname like that. I'll let you start it off. Rodriguez won the Tough Latin America Season 1, and Fili is a member of Team Alpha Male, which has had a rough go in the octagon lately. What do you have going on in that fight, Doc?
I like Rodriguez, man. He hasn't lost a fight in the UFC. He looks pretty sharp. Good striker. Good takedown defense. I think he's just a better fighter than Fili. Fili's, he's 15-3. He's a good fighter, but he's good knockout rate. But I think Rodriguez is just a better fighter. So I'd have to. I'm not gonna bet on it, but if I had to do anything, I'd have to side with Rodriguez here.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's two guys that love to strike, and they're very, very good and powerful at it. They use a bunch of different techniques. Jabs, moving in and out, leg kicks. Fili's super aggressive, and that's what gets him in trouble. Rodriguez can do a lot more on the ground. It seems more grappling, clinch type stuff. Fili's biggest downside, besides having his nickname as Touchy, is when he presses it. When he presses the way he does, and it happens to most fighters that press. Just name of the game is he leaves himself very, very hittable.
Absolutely.
Maybe very, very touchy is what we'll say come Saturday night. And Rodriguez, like you said, he's a beast. He won tough. He's been great since coming to the UFC. He's up and coming. This might move him up into in the class some more, and maybe get some big name fighters coming his way. If I do bet him, it'll be in a parlay. But I do like Rodriguez as well to stay undefeated in the UFC. The next fight of the night, I didn't know much about until I started researching it. And it's actually a very interesting fight. We have one Robert Whitaker. Or let me make sure what his nickname is. He doesn't have one. He's a number 7th ranked fighter in his weight class. Robert Whitaker out of New Zealand. He won Tough the Smashes. I didn't even know this existed. He won Tough the Smashes.
Yeah.
Has won 4 straight fights and has been phenomenal since moving up to the 185 weight class. He's taken on Rafael Sapo Natal out of Brazil. And he's also on a 4-fight streak. So 2 4-fight guys going at it. One's a little better than the other, but I'll let you break it down first, Doc.
Yeah, last I saw Whitaker, I think was a -270 here. If anything, I'd look for Whitaker inside the distance. I don't know what that is exactly, but his takedown accuracy is excellent, 66%. His takedown defense is excellent as well. Significant strikes lands 4.77 per minute. Whitaker can hit, man. He's a beast, man. He's an up and comer. He's doing pretty well. Nadal, he's all right. He's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. It seems like with Nadal, if he can't get you to the ground, he's not that great of a striker, you know. So if Nadal can't get Whitaker to the ground, I think this is going to be game set match here for Whitaker. I'm not interested in betting the fight. It's too high juice for me, but if I had to, gun in my head, I'd take Whitaker here. I think even though Nadal's got the reach advantage, I do like Whitaker. I've seen Whitaker fight a couple of times. He can hit. He's got some power. So yeah, I'd have to side with Whitaker.
Yeah, no, Whitaker brings the thunder, and if you want to get crazy, from down under. Yeah, I'll be here all night. He's got the full arsenal of striking. He's got the jabs, the leg kicks. He's always moving, which makes him very tough to hit because his head's always moving. The target's not there.
Right.
Like you said, Natal's got a good striking game, but he needs to get you to the ground. And Whitaker has a great takedown defense. I agree that the play I would make is Whitaker inside the distance or by knockout, basically. That's what I like, or he's parlay material. I know both of us hate all this chalkiness, but this will change. I have a great feeling this will change coming up on the next 3 fights, which finish off the card, and they are 3 outstanding-looking fights, which make this pay-per-view well worth the price in these 3 fights alone. We're going to start it off with the first one. We have Anthony Showtime Pettis coming off a tough loss against Eddie Alvarez, where he basically just got out wrestled for 3 rounds. And I had Alvarez. We talked about this. I picked him to win the fight. I had a feeling if you get inside Showtime, he can't get you. That's what happened. And he's taking on a very, very exciting fighter, an Edson Jr. Barboza. Big fight for Barboza. Big fight for Barboza. What do you got, Doc?
Well, this is actually a really interesting fight, and this is somewhat of a crossroads fight for Pettis. If you think back, man, December 2014, everybody was talking about Pettis being one of the top pound-for-pound fighters in the world after a second-round submission of Gilbert Melendez. So then, fast forward to that, totally dominated by Rafael dos Anjos. I mean, just dominated in every aspect of the fight. Then Eddie Alvarez just kind of basically used the same strategy that Dos Anjos did. Just took him down and wore him down, grinded it out and win. But I think this is kind of a good matchup for Pettis because I think Pettis is actually Pettis' ground game sucks. And I think he's trying to improve it, but his striking is excellent. And I think Barboza is actually a really good matchup for him to get back on track. He's kind of in a must-win situation here. I mean, you lose 3 in a row in the UFC. I'm not saying that Dana's going to cut him or anything because Pettis is, always going to, put on an entertaining fight. Depends on who he's fighting, but Barboza is a good striker, but when it comes down to it, I got to go with Pettis here. I think Pettis is extremely hungry. He's going to be extremely motivated. Um, you know, there's 2 losses, man. They're tough, but I think I like him to come back and win in pretty impressive fashion. To be honest, I think when he's facing a guy that's not great on the ground, his game is kind of striking as well. I think that suits Pettis better. I think the style that Barboza brings is just I think Pettis will dominate him pretty much. So I like Pettis here. I wouldn't be shocked if Pettis knocked him out. I think Pettis is going to be out to prove a point.
Interesting. I really, really thought you were going to go doggy on this one.
I know it.
I am surprised because
Don't
I
worry.
agree. This.
Don't worry. Don't worry.
Oh,
It's coming.
I know you. I know you won't let me down. But this fight has fireworks, explosiveness, knockout of the night, fight of the night, something all over this thing. You like you said, it's a massive crossroad for Pettis after getting just destroyed by Jose. Just or was it Dos Anjos? Dos Anjos.
Dos Anjos, yeah.
Yeah, my bad. Dos Anjos just got destroyed. It was the worst we've ever seen Pettis look.
That was bad. That was bad. And
then to see Eddie Alvarez come in and execute his game plan to near perfection and just take Pettis out of his game. For many newcomers to the sport in the last year or two, they probably don't even know what Anthony Pettis can do. They probably don't even know about him jumping off the side of the fence and knocking Ben Henderson out cold.
Yeah, that was sick.
He's a freak, an absolute freak when it comes to a striking game. He comes from all angles, all types, leg kicks, regular kicks, the works. But if you ever could see a doppelganger when it comes to the fight game, it could be Edson Barboza, in my opinion. This guy, when it comes to striking, is just as lethal, just as crazy, just as dangerous. The way I can separate the two, in my opinion, is Pettis maybe has more of a controlled approach, where Barboza just lets it fly.
He's wild.
Yeah, he just lets it go. You don't know when he's going to spin, and that could be a detriment against a striker like Pettis. It could leave him wide open and just get destroyed.
Yeah.
This fight would shock me if it goes to the ground. I would be actually disappointed and almost chanting for a refund if this went to the ground. This fight needs to be 15 minutes or less of just let it go. If you look at the two fighters, Pettis has finished 56% of his fight by KO or TKO, and Barboza's finished 63% of his fights. I'm no math major, but that usually means this fight doesn't go the distance. You never know. With that being said, I do think this is a lot closer than people think. Pettis is the better fighter. I agree with pretty much everything you said there, except I think Barboza's a live dog, and I believe at plus 155 or whatever he's at now is worth a shot. But
don't disagree with you there. Don't disagree.
Because literally when it comes to UFC, you watch it night in and night out. When it comes down to a fight where one punch can decide things, that's a very live dog, in my opinion.
Oh, I agree.
But I would not be surprised at all if what you said about Pettis trying to prove a point happens, because he has to be just furious of the way he's looked lately.
Yeah.
Okay, that brings us to the co-main event of the evening, and this is a very, very intriguing fight, I should say, as we have the flyweight title up for grabs, the 125-pound division. You know, most people can lift them with one hand. We have the champion, many think might be one of the, if not the, pound-for-pound best fighter in mixed martial arts, in Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson, going up against the 10-0, 4-0 in the UFC, Henry the Messenger Cejudo. I probably killed that.
Cejudo.
Cejudo, thank you. Cejudo is a 2008 Olympic gold medalist in freestyle wrestling.
Yep.
What was that?
It's a soft J.
Soft J, my bad. Cejudo. And I know Spanish too. This kid has just dominated every fight, given it's only four UFC fights. That could be something we talk about. He has looked freakishly good. Mighty Mouse has just destroyed the division. What's your take on this flyweight title fight?
Well, you got Demetrius Johnson, one of the top pound-for-pound fighters in the world. Quick, fast, excellent takedowns, good takedown defense, good striker, excellent cardio, kind of like the total package. He's really only been taken to the limit once, and that was the first fight with Dodson. And then the rematch, he kind of schooled him pretty bad. Cejudo, former Olympic gold medalist, and I believe it was 2008.
Yeah, 2008.
Yep, undefeated. The thing that's really intriguing is that how much Cejudo has improved in his striking. And if you look at significant strikes landed per minute, Cejudo's actually landed more significant strikes per minute than Mighty Mouse. I went back on Fight Pass and I've watched every fight that Cejudo's fought, and he has gotten better. And I think this is an extremely, extremely tough matchup for Mighty Mouse. And I've been reading the articles and Mighty Mouse saying, yeah, so what? He's an Olympic gold medalist, and so what? He's never, he won one tournament. He's got one gold medal. Big deal. Well, yeah, it is kind of a big deal because I don't think Johnson has faced this caliber of wrestler before. Cejudo's not like a powerhouse. He's going to grind out a win. He's going to control. He's going to try to take you down, kind of grind it out, and get the win, control the fight. Man, I like Cejudo here. I do. I think there's value here. I think, Mighty Mouse, he's been champion for a long time, and there always comes that time where you just kind of meet a guy that really pushes you to the limit, and it's kind of a bad matchup for you. And I think, as much as I respect Mighty Mouse, man, he's just such a talented fighter, but I like Cejudo here, and I'm going to take the dog. Plus 325.
I like it. That's a hell of a value. I agree. Demetrius is best of the best. He reminds you of when he reminds you of when like Anderson Silva was in his prime, when Jon Jones was in his prime. He still is. We'll get to that. Ronda Rousey, so on. GSP. We've seen these guys, but there's always an end.
Yep.
I'm not saying it's going to be this, but this is the best chance we've seen.
Yep.
Johnson does everything great. He has all facets of the game. He has 3 weaknesses. He does good, not great. He can get you if you have good counter skills, which Cejudo does. His striking is
excellent.
Striking's amazing. He's super quick. He's in and out. He can pressure you. He can dance around you. This kid, for only fighting in MMA for 3 years and only 10 professional fights, appears to be light years ahead of the game.
Yep.
If you do long durations of wrestling or keep Johnson down, he gets flustered. I don't know if you heard both of us, but this is a Olympic wrestler. So there's that aspect if you want to play that game. And if you can get him against the fence, he gets flustered there as well. So there's 3 things that Cejudo does very, very well. I think the biggest thing for Johnson, because Cejudo's, I probably keep butchering it every time, is going to come out. I feel like he's going to come like a ball of fire. If Johnson can handle the early attack, he might be able to make it go the distance. The way I see it, it's either a Cejudo inside the distance or Johnson by decision. Those are the 2 outcomes I see happening. I see very live dog, and I think if I were to put any money on this fight, I would sprinkle on the doggy as well, just like you, Doc. I am in your corner on this one. Give it a little rough bark on that one, boy.
Woof woof. By the way, I just want to let everybody know that Cejudo's never been taken down in the UFC. So
Oh, no, there's
100%
that too.
takedown defense.
Very,
So,
very nice.
yep. Yeah,
Excellent.
I like Cejudo. Out of all the fights on this card, um, this is the only one I'm betting personally. Cejudo plus 325.
Yeah, I'm super excited for this fight. The more I looked into it the last week or so, Cejudo, win or lose, I am really, really excited / curious both of what happens with him in this fight, because
Definitely.
even a loss is not going to hurt this kid. If anything, it'll make him better. Um,
Yep.
he will be the champion someday in this division. That's just the way I look at it.
Agreed.
And that'll take us to our main event of the evening. It'll be the interim light heavyweight title, as the champion, I mean, not champion, but should be champion, Jon Jones, faces, well, let me get it right. It's Jon Bones Jones, faces Ovince St. Preux, OSP, who took the fight on short notice because when Daniel Cormier got injured in training and could not defend his title, or couldn't defend Jon Jones' title against himself. Yeah, this just doesn't look good for OSP, but let me know what you think, Doc. Doc?
Yep. Man, the only thing that concerns me about Jon Jones is the ring rust. And I, when's the last time he's been in the octagon? You know what I'm saying? Um, I think, I think the layoff for Jon Jones might have done him some good to kind of sit back and kind of like think about like, wow, I've been a real, idiot and screw up and whatnot. And you know, I grew up when I was a kid. I loved boxing, loved it, and I had every Mike Tyson fight on VHS recorded, and his the things he's gone through with the car accident and the hit and run and all this stuff, it's eerily similar to Mike Tyson, eerily similar to just like run-ins with the law. And maybe it's just that he had, too much, too quick, too young. Um, his talent is just, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the guy's undefeated because the only loss he had was because of the 12-6 elbows when he destroyed Matt Hamill. Not Mark Hamill because he's in Star Wars,
Yeah.
but Matt Hamill. But I I could only look at Jon Jones here. I'm probably not going to bet it. If I do, maybe I'll bet it inside the distance. But as of right now, the only thing I'm doing is Cejudo. But I think Jon's going to be come out to prove when he's had his critics. He's hopefully he's learned. But I mean, judging by I don't know what happened with the drag racing incident. I don't know. I don't think anybody's really going to know the whole story with that. But St. Preux, he's a big dude, but um, he's just as tall as Jones, but Jones still has a 4-inch reach advantage.
So that
And
guy's always
if you
got those
go back
legs.
and look at, yeah, always. I mean, yeah, he's most fighters he fights are at a tremendous disadvantage. And against when Jones fought Gustafson, I thought Gustafson won the fight myself. I did. I just think he kind of took him lightly. And I think if we would have seen the Jon Jones that's well prepared and the Jon Jones we've seen in the past in big fights, I think he would have dominated Gustafson. But Oven St. Preux, um, the thing about St. Preux is I look at all his like the knockout against Shogun, and he has these like shots that just come out of nowhere, like very unorthodox striking, Um, but the thing about St. Preux is that he just can't. It just seems like he can't fight a complete fight. I mean, it's just like one round he looks good, the next round he looks like shit. It's just it's kind of like I like watching the guy. I mean, I backed him against Shogun, and I actually backed him against Glover, but Glover handled him pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think St. Prue's I think he's a little too raw still.
Yep.
His striking's a little unorthodox, not consistent, and plus, man, he's fighting John Bones Jones on short notice. That's a handful. Bones Jones on a full camp is a handful, but on short notice, man,
Yeah.
that's tough. I mean, you get those leg kicks to the shin, and you coming out of the we talk about it, the Jackson camp, the best camp in MMA is, we both agree on that.
Yeah.
So I think Jones is going to be out to prove a point. I a part of me, a part of me wants to take just throw a little pizza money on St. Preux, but it's not going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. I think Jones will pretty much dominate the fight.
Yeah, I agree. The biggest thing, like you said, I think is ring rust, and for a guy as talented as John Trey's Bones Jones, I think that won't last very long.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and when you spoke about Anthony Pettis earlier wanting to prove a point, there is no one with a bigger chip on their shoulder right now than Jon Jones.
Yep.
He wants
Agree.
he wants to prove everybody wrong. He had demons. Everyone's got something. He
Yep.
he liked to party, and it happens. That's a great comparison to Mike Tyson. I never even thought of that, and that's so eerily similar. Um,
Yeah.
I OSP I was big on going into that Glover fight like you were, and watching the way Glover destroyed him was a little disheartening.
Yeah.
Like you said, a shortlist fight against Jon Jones. My goodness, that's not a recipe for success for many people. Um, John was training his ass off. Like there's more people. It wasn't just the Jackson camp or Jones or his close people saying how hard John was training for this fight with Cormier. It was like every reporter that went there was watching how Jones was just, like we said, wanting to prove a point. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I would be shocked if this even got out of the first round.
Yep.
I see him pushing that pace. When we saw Jones at his best, he was finishing fights ridiculously
Yep.
quick. Um,
Yep.
this is one of those where OSP's got scary power in his punches. He
Yep.
does not use a lot of volume, so he picks his moments. So if Jones crazy enough, like if Jones goes full Ryan Bader on Rumble Johnson and dips his head in, hey, you can get caught. Like I said with Barboza, that's a one punch thing. Anything can happen.
Yeah.
I don't see Jones being that foolish. Um,
Yeah.
I think you witness Jones in a lot of fights. He'll kind of dance around for 30 to 60 seconds, see what he wants to see, and then you're dead meat. Um, the bet I would make on this fight, if I were to make a bet, would be Jones inside the distance. I could say I'd almost be willing to stay under a round and a half. I really don't see this going outside of the first round. It's nothing against OSP. He's a good young fighter, but he's a young fighter. He's got 26 fights, but to me, he's still not that experienced when it comes to fighting with the big boys. And
Yeah.
he'll learn a lot from this fight. There's no doubt about it. Even if it's 30 seconds long, he'll learn a lot from this fight. And
Mm-hmm.
I am very, very excited to see Jones back in the octagon. He is an amazing fighter. Like I said, everyone's got issues. It's just the way it works. His is just he's a star, so everyone sees it. Um, you're going to see why Jones, in my opinion, still is the best pound for pound fighter in MMA with
Yep.
a pretty dominating win over OSP.
Yep. I just think when I use the term when I think of OSP, I think he has flashes of greatness and stuff, but at times he's just sloppy.
Mm-hmm.
He's just sloppy. He can be sloppy, and you can't be sloppy for 15 seconds against Jon Jones because he'll kill you. he'll finish you.
No, that's what I'm saying. He does that dancing around for 30, 60 seconds, and he sees your routine, and he finds that hole, and he's going to finish you. It's that easy with him.
Yep.
Okay. Well, that wraps up the main card preview. For the most part, we went chalk heavy, but we did look into some dogs. Little woof woof. What is your best bet of the evening? I'm pretty sure I know what it is since you're only making one bet, but what's your best bet of the evening?
My best bet of the evening is Henry, the Messenger, Cejudo, plus 325.
Yeah, that's a good one. My best bet, and it's, this is what, you make fun of touts on Twitter for and shit. But but if you listen to our talks about each fight, we don't really like a lot of dogs. So when you like chalk, you got to play around with it a little bit. So I do a parlay. I parlay Robert Whitaker, Yair Rodriguez, and Johnny Bones Jones. I don't know what the payout is on that. I didn't look into it quick enough. But play those three, have a little fun. Don't go crazy because, like I expressed in the Barboza fight, we talked about in the Mighty Mouse fight, even with OSP, these fights one punch. You see this on so many. You see it on so many cards where dogs like shit. Holly Holmes was almost a plus 1,000. You see so many dogs that just goes out of nowhere. Look at the Holly Holm Misha Tate fight. Holly Holm was in charge of that fight, and then it ended that quickly. So don't go throwing your bankroll on these fights, people. Just enjoy the fights, have some beer with your friends. That's all I can say there.
I don't like if I like the card, I like the card. I mean, I love this card. I really do. I think this is going to be a great pay-per-view. But just because you like the card doesn't mean you have to bet every fight. If you want to put a degenerate parlay together, I'm not against that. But as far as me, from a betting standpoint, there's only one fight I think that shows value, and that's Cejudo. So I like that.
Hey, and if you don't want to put a wager on the fights, nothing against that, you can go to DraftKings.com and you can make a roster, and you can do that with some help from our UFC DFS preview that'll be coming out tomorrow by Mr. I should probably get his name correct. Like Dr. Mookie Betts, Professor Mookie Betts, Professor M. Betts at Fantasy FB Horror will be coming out with his UFC pay-per-view DFS article. And that's fun too. You could put $5 down or something on a 50-50 just for fun. And he previews every single fight. And he did it for he does it for pay-per-views. He did it for 197. It was quality read, very helpful. He usually puts a couple lineups he likes in there. And it gives you something to root for while you're watching the fights. Nothing crazy. So that's something to look for there. Real quick, the next I didn't put this on the outline. It's no big deal. If you're bored tomorrow night and you're sitting at home, Bellator has a fight card on Spike. I don't know the entire fight card, but you will see one Benson Henderson making his Bellator debut, which could be interesting for all you MMA fight fans. And that's free on Spike. The next UFC fight card we have coming up is on May 8th in Netherlands, UFC Fight 9, Overeem versus Orlovsky. And the next time you will hear from us on a UFC pod will be for the May 14th UFC 198, Fabricio Verdum against Stipe Miocic, and that's in Brazil. So, like we said kind of earlier, the fight cards coming up are locked and loaded. 198, it's a good appetizer for what 199 and 200 are coming at you with. They are ridiculous cards. 199 is in LA, and we have me and some buddies are looking at making the road trip down there. It's wow.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts on this card or other UFC events or anything else you just want to spout out to the world, Doc?
This is gonna be a good pay-per-view. I'm really looking forward to UFC 99. If Luke Rockhold beats Chris Weidman, which I think he will, the next in line for Luke Rockhold is Yoel Romero.
Poopy
I actually
pants.
I took Romero the last time as a doggy, but I think he was like plus 160 or whatever. But I fought the Brazilian. I can't think of his name, but
He fought
Romero.
Jacare Souza.
Jacare Souza, correct. Which was a pretty interesting fight, but I can't wait. I hope Yoel Romero and Luke Rockhold jump into the octagon, man, because that's going to be a fight. I like Romero a lot. I think he's pretty entertaining. When he gets on the mic, not as much because you can't even understand what he's saying. But yeah, that's gonna be something else. But yeah, I'm looking, man. It's gonna be a solid summer of fights, man. I can't wait, and we'll see what Dana has. I'm sure Dana's got a whole plan up his sleeve for UFC New York, and yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and speaking of a full summer of events coming up, keep tuning in to sportsdgens.com. Like we said, we have the UFC DFS tomorrow. Every day we've been having the MLB DFS. We've got Mitch and Rome attacking the NBA playoffs with DFS and game previews night in and night out. We got Porgio Armani with his golf DFS weekly. Your own Doc on the other side of the mic here has a mock draft article coming out with Richard Vincent or Richard V. There's a lot coming up. There'll be more draft coverage next week, then NFL previews, so on and so forth. There's going to be some nice changes and some more additions to the site, and just to make it more fun for us and more informative for you guys, the viewers and the listeners. That's what we're here for. We love talking about it. We love doing it, and when we see you guys are appreciating it, it just makes it easier and more fun for us to do.
Definitely.
With that being said, Doc, thanks. It was a blast again.
Always a pleasure, man. Always a pleasure.
And until next time, this was SD Radio episode 15. See you later.